I've covered for you long enough. I might sound a little rough. I'm wearing orange now and so you Scott, you get this now, Scott. Now I know why. Now I know why. Now I know why. It was you, Scott, you, and now I know why. I asked you where your dad was. Where was Big Daddy? You got so angry when I went to feed the baby goat. Now Scott, now I know why. Now I know why. Now I know why. It was you, Scott, you, and now I know why. Where Dad was, where was Big Daddy? You got so angry when I went to feed the baby goat. Now Scott, now I know why. Now I know why. Now I know why. It was you, Scott, you, and now I know why. I am hella mad and burning with rage, Scott, and now I know why.
When she was upset and scared easily, she's talking about, she said, my response to
I am hella mad and burning with rage, Scott, and now I know why. Now I know why. Now I know why. It was you, Scott, you, and now I know why. Now I know why. It was you, Scott, you, and now I know why. I am hella mad and burning with rage, Scott, and now I know why.
It was you, Scott, you, and now I know why. Hello, everyone. See, that woke me up. I had real trouble getting out of bed today. So much trouble getting out of bed today. I was like, oh, no, no. Cry. Yeah, but that was worth it. It was you, Scott, you, and now I know why. And then when the sax kicks in, it's just like, yeah, it's good. I'm so glad I hired that band. Yes, I did see that RA got moved. Well, let's hope it's better. Let's hope. Let's hope it's not false hope. How are you, Rachel? Good to see you. It's almost as catchy as Carly Rae Jepsen's goated Run Away With Me. I don't know what that is, but it's goated, so sure. You got so mad when I went to feed the baby goats. Ah! What did I miss? What did I miss? What did I miss? I don't know. Anyway, hella Matt. Hella Matt. Who else is here? Half Irish and Justin. AG is here. Hey, AG. What did you miss? What did I miss? Does it make me want to dance? Well, dance in my chair, yeah. It earwormed me when I didn't have headphones at work for 2.5 hours. Well, it must have earwormed everyone else as well. Poor little goats. Well, you know what? Scott didn't do a great job of looking after the animals at the farm, and that was his job. He spent most of his time playing with guns with his mates and going out and playing golf with his dad's credit card, as we have learned. You like the song too much? You can never like the song too much, Mavcom. That's not possible. Hey, Christine, how are you? And Lexi's here too. That's nice. The stream is not cancelled, Mavcom. No, I was just waiting for you. That's what I do. and Bifrons waited patiently. That was very nice of him. See, that's how you'll be patient. Now, we are trying to get some more melody emojis happening. So, all of your very, very nice donations are much appreciated. Also, you can buy me a coffee. buymeacoffee.com/excited. It's always appreciated. Now, today, we are going to do a side quest. We're going to take a little bit of a break from testimony, and we're going to watch the defense attorneys talking to Mr. Vinnie, because why not? So, yeah, after the trial, the defense attorneys decided to have a little bit of a coke fest and talk to Vinnie Politan. And it was funny. So I thought that since we finished the Scott testimony, which was a marathon, I wanted to take a little bit of a break from the courtroom and have a look at this. So let's go. Let us go. This is funny. This is funny. Oh, yes. Oh, look. We've got a crying son. We have a guilty son. And we haven't seen the two daughters yet. They're coming up soon. All right. Ready, guys? Hey, Ange.
Function that turned into a dramatic month-long murder trial on court TV. Meet the Farris family. Gary is the father, a prominent Atlanta attorney who made a whole lot of money. Melody is the mother, married to Gary for 38 years. The two adult boys are Scott and Chris, and the two adult girls are Amanda and Emily. The family owned a beautiful 10-acre farm estate in Cherokee County, Georgia. 3 of the children moved out of the home and started families of their own. One child, Scott, did not. He lived in an apartment on top of the barn on the family's property. On July 5th, 2018, Scott says he found his father's body in a burn pile on the property. He immediately suspected his mother was responsible. Meanwhile, Melody has pointed the finger at Scott. Prosecutors charged Melody, and Melody was convicted. Tonight, her attorneys join us live in studio to talk about the verdict, the murder, and the intense trial.
Oh, it's intense.
I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. Big hour in store for you. We'll get to all the details out of Delphi. Some big, big moments in that case. But first, let's talk about the case you've been watching on Court TV for over a month. Melody Farris, convicted. She murdered her husband, Gary. Gary Farris. The victim in all of this. This is the guy who earned the money, was the patriarch of the family, and the jury told us he was murdered by his wife. Melody is now a convicted murderer. You look at her, and she's been free for quite some time, but she's free no longer. She's locked up, facing the rest of her life behind bars as the woman who took the life of her children's father, her grandchildren's grandpa.
Oh, stop it, Vinnie.
And all the time was pointing the finger somewhere else, pointing it at her son, Scott, during the course of this highly contested trial. Now, the jurors from this case, one of the jurors spoke with Julie Grant this morning, gave us a lot of insight into what was going on in that jury room, because this was a case where, if you were following it on social media and some of the court TV chats, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook, wherever, and you're looking at the comments, the viewers a little split on this one. This was not a march to the inevitable. This was one where a good percentage, I'm not saying an even 50-50 split, but a good percentage of court TV viewers didn't think Melody did it, or didn't think that the prosecution proved it. But we'll take you inside the jury room with that juror tonight. She spoke to the juror, and tonight I will be speaking with the defense attorneys. They will speak with me right now.
Oh, they will speak with me right now. Okay, so let's just be clear, right? For court TV viewers to be split at all is a pretty big deal, right? Because usually court TV viewers are like, she guilty, She guilty, she vile, and she's a narcissist. Right? So for them to have even the remote amount, a remote amount of doubt is really wild. So even a little bit of split, a little bit of a conversation amongst them as to there being any doubt is weird. And look who's here.
Hey.
Hello, Ilya.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. So we have Vinnie. Say hi to Vinnie.
Hi.
Vinnie's got his dramatic voice out.
Ooh.
Yeah. His booming dramatic voice.
Sure has
And-
a purty mouth for a city boy.
His pretty mouth has been places.
I'll
Yeah.
say. Nancy Grace can testify.
Yeah, testify to that. And Julie Graham.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right. So, he was talking about, how she took the father from his children and the grandfather from his grandchildren and all that dramatic stuff. And how Adura had just spoken to Julie Grant that very morning.
You don't say.
Yeah, don't say. All right, and now he's about to speak to the defense attorney. They're going to speak right now.
Yes.
Ready?
I'm ready.
Yeah, I can't watch the court TV chat for more than a few minutes. Look, I can watch them and laugh my ass off. And Ilya and I often go in there and get banned and then leave.
Well, I think you promoted my stream one time and we got somebody
I
to come
did.
over.
I did.
I was like when you first started streaming.
Yeah.
Like, I'd
yeah,
only been streaming for a month.
yeah, I was like, oh, did you know we're streaming this?
Oh, really?
Oh,
Okay.
oh, sweet, okay, bye. I was like, banned. Whoopsie. Oh, well. All right, let's keep going.
Are sitting right next to me. Joining us tonight, Melody Farris's defense attorneys Michael Ray and John Luke Weaver. Great to see you both. Thank you for coming in. How exhausted are you? I never tried a case that was a month long.
Exhausted, Vinny.
You have to be.
Does
You have
Vinnie
to
ever
be.
try a real
But you're here
case?
tonight.
We're here.
Okay.
Only for you, Vinny.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
what I
only
heard.
for you,
So-
Vinnie. No, I'm serious. Did Vinnie ever really try a real case? Yeah, ask Google. Because reason I ask is because there's legit footage of him 25 years ago as a court TV anchor. He's not that old.
He was born in 1965. He's a former New Jersey county prosecutor, practicing private attorney and broadcast journalist. Maybe he's currently practicing. I know that one guy. No, I know that one guy that comes on, Josh, who wears like pink glasses and looks really goofy.
Oh, the pink glasses guy isn't on regularly enough. Like this guy, that's all he does.
Yeah,
Like Vinnie,
true.
this is all he does.
But-
right? I'm asking, like, how long did Vinnie actually practice so that he could go, I never tried a case that was a month long. Well, yeah, in the 2 years you actually practiced. Good, yeah, big deal.
I mean, most cases are 2 or 3. I mean, murder trials are like 2 or 3 days normally.
Exactly. A whole last month, right? I
So
love the
that-
way they're all, they always go, oh, yeah, in my whole time practicing, because I'm a practicing lawyer, remember, I'm a lawyer. It's like,
Did you know he's a lawyer?
man, did you know that?
Oh.
Yeah, right? It's like, dude, you've been on this channel for fucking eons.
So I want to get right to this juror because I want to get your reaction to what the juror is saying about what they were going through in that room and what evidence sort of influenced them. Let's begin by one of the things that impacted this juror the most.
What influenced you the most hearing this case?
For me personally, it was just the overwhelming, in my opinion, evidence that she was there during the opportune times for the murder and the cleanup. and that even though Scott had presence on the property during, those like between 12 and 6 a.m., it didn't seem like there was any kind of an opportunity. It didn't seem like there was any kind of a motive. So just all those things. For me personally, it was just kind of like that logical conclusion of if nobody else is here to do it, then who did?
Motive and opportunity. So she's looking at the timeline. You surprised?
Well, we talked to him yesterday, Vinny, and we spent a lot of time in the trial trying to exclude, because we believed it was kind of wrongfully presented at way too late to us, the geofence evidence that she's referring to.
And the geofence is building the timeline for the prosecution. So
Hang
when
on
you
a
say it's
minute.
presented to you late, what do you mean?
After the trial started.
That's a Brady violation. He just said the geofence data was revealed to them after the trial started. What the hell?
Unless that's when the prosecutor got it.
Let's go back.
Yeah.
Nobody else is here to do it, then who?
The trial trying to exclude, because we believed it was kind of wrongfully presented at way too late to us, the geofence evidence that she's referring to.
And the geofence is building the timeline for the prosecution.
So they were trying to get it excluded. So they probably put a Brady motion forward.
They probably did then.
So they probably motion to suppress.
Yeah. And it sounds like the judge denied it.
If they didn't put a Brady motion, they're stupid.
Yeah. So, okay.
I'd love to look at the documents for
Well,
this.
that sounds like a brilliant appellate issue then.
Yeah.
At least it gets past, with this interview, would get past the harmless error prong.
Correct, Maddie. So if they had to know about it and hide it for it to be Brady, yes, correct. So if the prosecution's like, oh, okay, so this only just became available to us and we didn't know about it, and so therefore it wasn't with forethought or malice or all that kind of stuff. Whatever the wording is for Brady, it's not forethought or
Now,
malice.
it can still be excluded if it comes in last minute. It kind of depends on the judge and what the judge will do. If the defense doesn't have, like, they can't be ambushed by it, but that's not necessarily Brady.
They can't. That sounds like an ambush, though, if it's at the last minute and it was left in.
Yeah. But like the in the ASAP Rocky trial, there was, I think, a new report that came in at the last minute, and the judge said he would pay for an expert and like expedite it, and the defense wouldn't have to pay for the expert to come in and give a report to the defense. So like the judge kind of made the defense as whole as possible.
I don't like the sound of this.
No.
I got the document, eh?
I can try.
Thanks.
So when you say it's presented to you late, what do you mean?
After the trial started.
Oh, during the trial,
We got it October 2nd while we were still in jury selection.
Wow.
And then they actually added more to it about midway through the trial.
I didn't know you could do that in Georgia.
We objected.
I know you objected.
Okay.
How unusual was that?
Very unusual.
Okay, well, you have an advantage though, right? Because you can speak to your client. Like, your client can tell you where she was all the time.
It's not her phone. It's Gary's phone.
Okay, so it was Gary's phone where he was, as opposed to her having the opportunity. So that's what you have a problem with. Was the timeline a problem for you guys? Because you're pointing the finger at Scott, right? So how did you see the timelines in this one?
Well, after we got the new geofence information from their expert, who was Investigator Harris. So once we got that information, it didn't really change our timeline so much as the night of the 3rd, but it changed the timeline of the morning of July the 4th before Melody left to go to Lake Lanier. And before that time had just been a gap. There was just no evidence of anything going on at that point in time.
Right. But you do have the advantage, right? You can ask Melody, like, where were you? Like, and she would remember that. I know you can't tell me about attorney-client discussions, but like, the defense does have that, like in their pocket. They can always speak to the defendant.
That's true.
You can.
And
She didn't testify, though.
She did not testify. And if you remember, there was some testimony about that day, July the 4th, going to Scott coming to the house first thing in the morning, getting the debit card, going to the bank, coming back, things like that.
Let me ask you this. Like, so much of this trial was about family dynamics. Did you know Gary Farris? Because he's a lawyer in Georgia. You guys are lawyers in Georgia. You didn't know him?
Never knew it.
No.
And so, as you're uncovering what's going on in this family, what surprised you the most, or what was eye-opening about it? Because for us who were watching this trial, it was sad, obviously, because of this family imploding in front of us and watching it all. But for you, trying to figure out the truth and trying to figure out this case, what did you think of this family?
We heard, and the phrase kept being used throughout the trial from Chad Bruce. He used the phrase, the Ferris wheel, and that's been used, of course.
I used it.
You've used it.
Yeah, we started to use it.
It was their life for 20 years, and we spent so much time, and especially with the witnesses in the case, I thought, we got to talk about this, because the dynamic of this family, that they fought so much, I thought it was unique. It was painful to see, but it was also their normal. And I talked to Amanda about it, and she said, yeah, this was not everybody's normal. It was our normal.
And it was, Melody and her kids, what's the nature of that relationship? Like, how would you describe it at this point? Because,
at this point, or back in 2018?
Let's go back to 2018, yeah.
Fed up with Chris and abusing Gary's credit card and bank accounts. Somewhat fed up with Scott, I would say, getting tired because they had talked about him. Time to get a job. It's time, eventually you're going to have to leave the barn.
Because the kids are all grown up.
Yeah.
They're grown up.
But
he fought in Iraq, though, right?
Yeah.
It
was Gary, too, and that's what we tried to lay out. Through the text messages that we showed, it wasn't just Melody. They were trying to build up this anger for Melody, but Gary would clearly say, give me back my credit card.
Yep.
Stop stealing from me. So it wasn't just Melody. It was clearly Gary. He was very upset.
But are Gary and Melody
barn,
at
boy.
all working together on this? Because I kept repeating the line that they had this 38-year marriage, but they're living on separate floors but separate lives, and having relationships with other people. What's going on between these two?
They were literally, and this has been since I got on the case, probably, I think it was June 2019. That's exactly what everybody said. It was like they are married, but it is separate. They live completely separate lives.
All right, I want to play some more because this was, I think, was for this juror the big moment, and I think for a lot of folks was the big moment. And one of the reasons the folks who believe Melody did it, including the jury.
Guys, why is it that jurors that speak to the media are always idiots? Right?
Feels that way.
It does feel that way, doesn't it? It's always the dickheads
Yeah.
who come out and speak to the media, and they make other jurors look like complete fools. And is it just that all jurors are fools, or well, some of the verdicts, because we do get unanimous verdicts that are just idiotic. So maybe they do represent the rest of them, but maybe it's the most idiotic ones who speaks to the media. Maybe that's it. But this one here, she's just wow.
Yeah.
After listening to this, let's take a listen.
Was there ever kind of something with the evidence that made you go, oh, wow, this for me might have really tipped the scales of justice?
Yeah, the phone calls.
Rusty.
Yeah, with Rusty. There was a lot of conversation that I felt, there was a lot of opportunity. I felt like she could have denied it. She could have been more clear that it was appalling to her and that she had nothing to do with it. But to me personally, I felt like they just were getting their story straight carefully because they were aware that they were being recorded.
Damn, yeah.
Right. They know they're being recorded, but as we listen to it, and I think this is another overall issue with Melody, is her demeanor. I've watched a lot of trials. There was no warmth coming from that seat. And
oh, for God's sake.
Unfortunately, for someone when they're on trial, they're being judged, right?
She
Now,
cried
you don't judge
a
people in
ton
real
of
life. You live
times.
your life however you are, you are. but she came across as sort of cold. And you listen to those phone calls, and they sound like they're sneaking, like they're talking about something else. And to me, the vibe coming from her there and from the phone calls, was there a discussion at all about, like, how do we handle this? Or
Wait. You guys saw her cry, right?
Yeah.
Like, a lot of times. You saw her get emotional. How was she cold? She was not, Justin. That bitch was not cold as ice. When was she cold as ice? Like, I know defendants are usually stoic. They're told to be stoic, right? This woman, she was listening to Scott testify. She listened to, what's the other one's name? Chris testify. And she like burst into tears. I saw her. It was real. Like, she was like, she was like that. What do you want? Like, Vinnie, come on now. Don't ruin my fun. Cold as ice, willing to sacrifice our love.
is there a way to warm up Melody?
Well, I'll tell you. So, Melody, to try to turn somebody into something they're not, then that comes across as fake.
Right.
You know, we wanted Melody to be authentic to herself. We knew they were going to hear these phone calls. So there were times when she cried during the trial.
There were. Absolutely. When the kids were testifying, for sure.
Totally authentic. I mean, she was a totally authentic version of herself throughout the entire trial. And I think that goes better than all of a sudden they're hearing one thing and they're seeing something else. That's just the way Melody is.
Right.
But there is compassion in her heart, and the jury was able to see it because the jury. I watched that video today.
And what did the jury tell you about Melody? Did they talk about that at all?
This is exactly what she said. That phone call, if you recall, when they came out, that's the exact portion that they wanted to hear. Not the whole phone call, just the 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. And what they were actually looking for is. Melody didn't say when she was asked by Rusty, did you say that? She didn't say absolutely not. She actually went on and talked about something else for a minute before saying, I don't recall, and then ultimately saying, no, I think, not necessarily I think Scott did it, but Rusty eventually asked that question.
It's tricky because you know you're being recorded, right? So if you go into these big denials, sometimes people say, well, you're playing because you know it's being recorded, right? Sure. Was there any evidence that you wanted to get in front of this jury that didn't get in front of this jury for whatever reason?
Scott's failed polygraph.
That's huge.
Yeah. That's huge.
Yeah, but that never comes in.
That never comes in.
He tried.
A lot of my cross-examination, though, of Scott was from the polygraph interview, just to see how he would react, to try to trigger those memories. I was walking a very fine line, and I knew that. Jeffrey Fogus, he stood up and he objected fervently to me even getting into it. But it was important. I mean, he failed that polygraph. He ended that interview and he lawyered up. That is critical stuff that never got to be in front of this jury.
Oh, mate, come on
but
now.
It never is.
I know.
It never is.
I know.
Right. So was there anything else?
Well, we were
somewhat. I didn't like that. He lawyered up, so come on. He should have lawyered up a long time earlier than that.
Well, it shouldn't come into his trial.
Huh? It's not his trial.
No, I know it wouldn't be. I don't know if it would. I guess it wouldn't come into Melody's, or it shouldn't come into Melody's either.
Polygraph not coming anyway.
Oh, no, not polygraph, but him lawyering up right away.
No.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, regardless, I didn't like what he just said. That wasn't good.
Yeah.
Right? So him lawyering up, that's irrelevant. He should have lawyered up right from the start.
Yeah.
So the fact that he failed his polygraph, walked out and lawyered up, irrelevant. Irrelevant. The way that he answered his questions that day, relevant. So I think that his cross-examination was very good, and that he used the questions in the polygraph to try and make him uncomfortable. Very good. Sure. But the judge was absolutely right for him to rule that the word polygraph was to be kept out. Absolutely. You can't say polygraph.
I did like when he asked the prosecutor last time we did this, well, unless you want to stipulate. He tried to get the prosecutor to stipulate into admitting the polygraph.
Well, Well, Manlet was sleeping that day.
He was.
Yeah.
So we weren't trying to, set up some type of mistrial or anything
Sure,
like that. We wouldn't do that.
Right.
But
He never should have
if Scott
taken
said
it down.
something, because if he got an idea going back thinking about that interview that the GBI did of him, and he slips up and says something, then
Door's
I don't
open.
know. He opens the door himself, then we're just going to run right through it.
Right. So, what did you think of the testimony of the children? Like, was that how damaging did you feel that was?
I think after we felt fine after they testified, after all three of them.
There was a big reaction from folks online.
But the
Yes.
jury, after we talked to the jury, the things they thought that people thought they cared about, they didn't. I mean, so the kind of diagram that the state came up with about the late night phone calls,
Right.
they didn't care about that.
Nope.
They didn't care about that. They cared about the timeline. They cared about the geofence and some of the phone calls with Rusty, but not even all of them. They said we didn't care about all that other stuff. So this trial that went on for a month, I mean, if they could have somehow honed in on it, it could have been so much shorter.
Could have been shorter, yeah. But so, as you're going through the course of the trial and trying to read where you are, take us behind the curtain a little bit
Sure.
here. Are you making, like, after the end of the day, are you two getting together and saying, hey, that went well, this didn't go well? You guys watching the jury reaction at all to witnesses or
Duh.
moments and adjusting your strategy during the course of the case?
He does that. He's the one that watches the jury. I don't look at him. I believe, and you've tried plenty of jury cases. You don't never know what they're thinking.
No,
you can
he
look at them and
hasn't.
say, I think they're on my side, and they
just
come out and
says
they're
he
not,
has.
or they are.
But you can look and see that they're tired. And when they're tired, sometimes we could go much further on a witness, but we're not going to do that. We're stopping right here.
Now, talking about, let's get to, I want to go to the fourth soundbite that I have for you, which is about where the murder took place. And here's what the juror had to say about that.
For me personally, it didn't matter whether or not it happened in the house or it happened in the yard. I didn't really care where it happened. I feel like the house showed evidence that something happened in the house. But I personally think that it's not difficult to imagine that she could have moved the body. When we got out to the site, it felt like it was a bit steeper than it looked in the pictures. I know my own personal strength. I know I'm a bigger lady than she is,
Like
but
double.
I don't have any mental reservations. If I had to move something with everything available, I would have figured out a way to do it.
Oh my God.
This woman has never lifted anything dead in her life.
It's not hard for me to imagine. You're not supposed to imagine what happened, lady. You're supposed to know beyond a reasonable doubt. It's beyond a reasonable doubt.
And well, first of all, there would be evidence if somebody was dragged around, unless it just like had a storm go through. Do you understand how difficult it is to move something dead? I could barely move an 80-pound dog that had died. My dad's dog.
Yeah.
I was exhausted just moving it from the bedroom to the car. And then I couldn't even lift it into the car by myself. So, I could find a way.
Yes. Have you moved a body, ma'am? Crying out loud. Plus, she's double the size of this woman.
Yeah.
She's double the size. Like, look at her. But that's not even the point, right? She shouldn't have to imagine how it happened. She just said, it's not hard for me to imagine, right? Well, the prosecution should have told her exactly how it happened, right? Without any need to imagine how it possibly could have happened.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be all these thoughts floating around in her head about how it could have possibly happened. It should be with beyond a reasonable doubt. There's no potential way that it could have happened some other way, or that somebody else could have done it. More importantly, yeah, don't get me started on Rosario. Yeah, exactly. Were you using a tractor though? Well, were there any tractor marks?
Yeah, that leaves, evidence.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
I don't know, was there like these big marks going to the burn pile?
Yeah. Was
Did the
it?
neighbor hear beep, beep, beep,
Beep, beep, beep, beep.
around the time he went missing? Yeah, oh, come on.
All right, so this, and then we're looking right now at the video of where the burn pile is and the slope. And that's one thing she said. The slope was a little steeper than she thought when she went on the jury view to
Just
actually
roll it down.
see the land. How important, this was a big issue for you guys, right? Because the prosecution saying he's murdered in the house and then somehow gets to the burn pile.
There is
He's
no
over 300
way
pounds.
that he was murdered in that house. There's no way. Come on now. Don't be ridiculous. There's like 3 spots of blood in the house. Oh.
Yeah.
She's $120, and that's just, the math doesn't work there for moving that dead body.
Correct.
But this juror didn't care, because, and that's basically what the prosecution argued, right? You can use an ATV, you know, I mean, I had someone online saying, well, maybe they used one of the horses or something. Like, no one knows.
Yeah.
Why don't we know that?
Justice for the horse.
Why
Was
don't
this
we know
the
that?
1600s? They
about the crime
quarter him?
scene.
Yeah, I think it would be because of the crime scene. I mean, essentially, when they got there, you know, we were actually talking to Detective Hayes afterwards, and, you know, when he was talking to the jury, he was more of, you know, we just thought we were going to go, that it was an accidental death and all of that, and it wasn't going to be that big of a deal. And there are people trampling through the crime scene. They drove the crime scene truck through the backyard, and then nobody investigated it. They investigated the burn pile inside the house, and then they left it out. Nothing in between the house, nothing in the front, the barn. Things were just completely left because no one was in charge.
Literally, Vinny, they would look like right here in the floor in front of this table, but they wouldn't look out on the table or on the couch. They looked for nothing. Just right there on the floor.
So, what did you think the blood was from? Or
Dog bite.
the luminol.
We had evidence that there was a dog bite, and Amanda testified to that the week before he was bit by Molly.
Yeah, on his ankle.
And that would account for that. Is it possible that, I know you don't believe Melody did it, but whoever did it shot him at the burn pile?
That's what, when we were reading the stuff online, that's what people keep saying, and that makes the most logical sense. Shoot him at the burn pile, he falls in, that makes it simple. Then you get to the issue of, then why is there a bullet in the house? That's where I always come back to. And then you're relying on...
With no blood around the bullet.
No blood
we
around the
kept
bullet.
pointing to that over and over and over again.
So you've got this bullet in the house, and then it's like, well, Melody still, if she shot him at
didn't
the
think of
burn
that.
pile, but then she planted the bullet in the...
I didn't think of that. There's no blood on the bullet.
The casing or no, they found a whole bullet, right?
It was a half.
It was the casing?
I don't know what that means, but like you saw it. It was like half
I'm
a
trying-
bullet with the tip, just the
Miss-
tip popping out. You know,
Okay.
little red tip thing.
Yeah.
Half a bullet tip.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
That, yeah.
The tip.
Supposedly it would be a bullet that had been through somebody.
Okay, the bullet part that had been fired.
Yeah, that.
Okay, the bullet. Okay.
Yeah, the bullet.
Thank you, Sarita. I was
Yeah.
thinking that, but I didn't want to say. I was trying to be professional, but I'm not professional.
You know, I don't expect that from you at all. Anyway, so yeah, there would be blood on it. If it had been through a person,
Yeah.
there'd be blood on it, right?
Yeah, and it wasn't like the bullet was in the body and had been burning or anything.
No.
Because it was found in the forest.
No, it wasn't found in the forest. It was
Or-
found on the rug, next to the
Oh,
rug
yeah.
in the house. Ilya, have you been watching?
I have been. I'm sorry. I don't feel well today.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's all right.
So
I just-
you know the one that was found next to the rug upstairs?
yeah, I do remember that. I just...
Yeah. Okay. So that one, you saw it. It was
Yeah.
like half a bullet with a little red pin tip coming out of the top.
Thank you.
It didn't have any blood on it.
Okay.
Okay. So there was a bullet found in his
Yeah.
rib. Yeah, that's a different bullet.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, like the question is like, was there some shooting that happened in the house? And because there's half a bullet there, and I don't know whether it's another half of a bullet that's in his rib or whether it would be a different bullet that's in his rib.
It would be
but they're both from the same gun.
different one.
There's a different one, right?
Yeah.
Now, Serena, this is why we're watching this, and slowly. We're just doing it in our spare time. Because this is what happened, right? Delphi was on, and Sarah Boom was on, and this trial happened. And then, Darlie was watching it during the day. I was watching sort of bits of it. And then, and we knew it was a really good trial, but we didn't have time to watch it.
Yeah.
And then this happened, right? So, her statement at the sentencing happened, and also I had watched the juror interview and was disgusted. And yeah, we were like, okay, we've got to catch up on this, and because there wasn't much happening over Christmas, so we started watching the trial, and yeah, so we're just watching it in our spare time and sort of catching up on what happened. So yeah, we've got more to learn too.
Yeah.
But it's entertaining. It's a really good trial.
Yeah.
I think he was shot at the burn pile. That bullet could be from anything. Yeah, I don't think that bullet's got anything to do with it, the one in the house. And I don't think that blood in the house has got anything to do with it at all. I don't think any of that stuff's got anything to do with it. Just personally. Hey, Jenny, how are you? Good to see you. A juror reenactment to come, yes. All right, let's go.
House, that doesn't make any sense. So that's always been, for me, to me personally, that was doubt right there.
So when you looked at this jury, when you did the jury selection, right, you go through, you're in Cherokee County. Every county has their own sort of vibe.
Sure.
Was this a place where you felt, hey, listen, we could be successful in Cherokee County? Or is Cherokee County one of those places where it's much more difficult to defend someone?
You know, I actually think, Vinnie, when we picked them, we believed that to be a fair cross-section jury. You had old, you had young, you had men, women, blue-collar, white-collar. We had everybody on that jury. We really thought that, and they did, and they told us afterwards that they were tormented. They would go home and they would have nightmares. They worked, they worked diligently. They're terrified of making the wrong decision. So at the end of the day, it made us feel better as attorneys that they worked on this case. They worked through their thoughts. We disagree, obviously, but Cherokee County in itself, I believe, is typically a good place to have trials. They're people that question the government. And
right.
for a defense attorney, that's good.
That's good. And I've seen that start to happen around the country now. There's a lot more skepticism, which, as a former prosecutor, not the best thing for us. But anyway, John Luke Weaver, Michael Ray staying with us. We've got more to get to in our reaction to this big verdict. I got some other things that I want them to respond to, including this test of strength in the middle of the courtroom that was done during the trial. Plus, coming up next hour.
Tonight on Vinnie Politan investigates the off-pair.
BDSM murder plot.
Oh.
Okay.
Wait, do you say
On Court TV.
What happened that 8 seconds from your father being killed? And I was very frank. I said, well, yeah. I mean, my mom.
They discovered a bullet lodged in the rib bone.
At that point, did you suspect your mom?
Definitely.
I did receive confirmation later that my dad had been shot, and that was pretty much the sticking point for me. When
That
I
was
heard
funny.
That, I thought...
I laughed. Haha, Dad's dead.
I mean, it just confirmed my beliefs.
So did I assume the worst? Yes, I did. Obviously, I did.
Yeah. So in your own words, when she said he is in the burn pile, what was your assumption?
That she had something to do with him.
Yeah.
That he was dead and burning
because I don't that he was dead and burning up.
I was saying all along, that's bad, right? Like all your 3 of your 4 kids believe you did it. Your lover believes that you did it. And the jury's hearing all of this. Back with us, Michael Ray and John Luke Weaver, Melody Farris's defense attorneys who fought so vigorously and powerfully in the courtroom. A lot of folks commenting about the work that you guys did. How about that, though? Is that how much of a problem is that? I mean, I've covered a lot of spousal murder cases, unfortunately, through the years. It happens, right? Yeah. And inevitably, it is rare that the children believe one of their...
I mean, it happens. That's all I mean.
No, not my wife. Sorry, did I say that out loud?
Yeah, this guy who was an attorney. His name was Andrew Bronca. Yeah, his ex-wife disappeared very suspiciously.
Oh dear. We've got to find out his background, right? Like, how many cases did he actually try? Like 6?
Yeah.
4.
There's one of their parents murdered the other. They just don't want to believe it. DNA evidence. They could be Harvard educated. They won't believe that dad killed mom or mom killed dad.
Pause.
But here they did.
I mean, there's a guy, a professor at Arizona State University, who in August lived in a North Scottsdale, like the rich part of very rich Scottsdale.
Yeah.
Like a $2-3 million house, huge mansion. And he got a little hot under the collar and had a shotgun, I believe. Wife ran into the room and he fired a couple shots through the wall. Whoopsie. He was trying to scare his wife, supposedly.
Oh, right, as you do.
As one does. And the wife dies. ASU professor.
Oops.
You can rate him. His ratings went down after that. But his kids then were asked, like, does this surprise you? Is this shocking to you? And they're like, no, we kind of expected it. Because it was,
it was
kind
coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's just.
He likes to scare people by shooting through the walls.
He apparently had a temper.
Yeah, these things happen.
Yeah. I don't know where I was going with that, but sorry.
And you people want to keep your guns. Anyway.
Yeah, because if his wife had a gun, then she could have defended
herself. Well, everything would have been so much better. There would have been so much less death.
Exactly, self-defense. 2A, baby.
Yeah, right. Oh dear. Anyway, so Justin, a lot of people have said this. Rusty's testimony was what put me over the edge to guilty when watching the trial. I can't wait. In fact, I feel like just like skipping ahead to Rusty's testimony because I feel like we need to hear it. I feel like we need to hear it. And you know what? I'm the boss.
And the sister too, or the daughter too. Do we hear that?
I don't know if the daughters is that interesting. But I feel like just going. Let's just go straight to Rusty's. So we can hear it, and then we can go back if we want. Just I'm the boss. I'm in charge. So screw you guys.
Oh yeah, Akasha. Yeah, the ballerina trial as well. Rich guy.
About the ballerina. Oh yeah. Happens all the time. All the time because more guns equals less death.
Well, I mean, you can kill with other ways too.
Yeah, you can. But,
I mean, she could have just as easily used a nice glass of OJ and antifreeze.
Sure, she was going to do that. But anyway, let's keep going.
Why? And how much of a problem did you see that being in this case?
Well, I mean, for us, from our investigation, the things we figured out along the way, we believed that Scott did it, and then we kind of backed up from there, and we saw that Chris became in concert with Scott. He had a financial motive, a benefit. I mean, he became the head of the estate after his father's death. And
Melody wouldn't get anything?
Exactly.
No, Melody wouldn't get anything under Georgia law, especially if she was convicted.
But if she's not convicted, this goes as an unsolved murder. Who gets the money?
That would have been fought out in probate then.
Okay, so they got to split up. So, was there an actual? I mean, it's like a two-step process though for Scott or
Step one,
Chris
murder,
to benefit from any of this.
Step
right?
two,
I mean, first you've got to commit murder, get away with it, and then you've got to frame your mother.
True.
And that's what Melody believes happened here.
That is what Melody definitely believes. And part of also what John Luke was saying is, why would they do?
And then they would have got Robert Tellis involved in the probate. And he would have helped sort everything out.
That would have fixed everything.
It all comes full circle in the end.
Yeah.
That But Scott started doing that the moment law enforcement arrived. I mean, you even heard from the chief of police, Chief Pinion, that he's literally just walking to the crime scene, just trying to check on his deputies, and he's just being fed information about affairs and a missing gun from the house, all within minutes of law enforcement arriving.
And that's, and obviously that's, did you talk to the jury about that afterwards? What did they think of that?
They didn't really say anything about that. That I just don't think that it, really the way the jurors explained it is said there was no direct evidence. This is actually from the foreperson. There was no direct evidence, but there was just so much circumstantial evidence.
Against Scott?
Against Melody.
Against Melody.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So let's go to that moment, because it's rare. It's rare that.
Oh, this.
I said this is like a Perry Mason moment where an attorney points at someone in the gallery and says, "That's the real killer. Take a look."
It was him.
From day one, from the early minutes of the 911 call, which let's think who made the 911 call. It was that man right there. He was in control from the very first minute of this case, Scott Farris. That would be somehow how your mother pulled off moving a 300-pound man in the house instead of the very obvious solution, which is that the one person on the property who could move him did move him.
It was you, Scott.
And that's you. You used that .357 to shoot your father, did you not?
No, because I never shot my father.
Did you throw that .357 into Lake Lanier after you shot your father?
No, because I have not seen that .357 since 2012, I think it was.
Did you shoot him at the barn, Scott?
I never shot my father.
Means, the ability. They started talking about the circles. They started zooming out on one person. And it's not Melody Farris. It's Scott Farris. He's sitting here today.
Have you ever had a moment like that where we point the finger at the person that you believe is the real killer?
He literally pointed the finger at Scott.
Scott was an
in the
idiot.
closing.
Scott was an idiot to be there for closing.
Oh, he was.
He should not have been there.
He
That would
shouldn't have
have
been in the
stolen so
room.
much thunder from him.
Oh, it would have been. Oh,
I mean, it didn't work.
It
in
was.
the end, but
It was Scott. Oh, hang on, he's not here. That would have been classic. Imagine.
oh, never mind. Well, it's
It was
Scott.
that man right
He's
there.
in the hallway.
Oh, oops.
Oh, he's getting
Where
some
is he?
Cheetos. He'll be back later.
Imagine if he
Getting
just,
some Cheetos in the snack
if
machine.
he just pissed off to the toilet or something. That's brilliant.
I know.
How great is that? What an awesome moment. It was that man right there.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's why I loved, like, when you know something is coming in closing.
Yeah.
You can kind of cut the lawyer off. Murdaugh was great at that during his when he testified.
Yeah, because he knew. He
Yeah.
knew that Waters was trying to get him to say,
Look me in
did
the
you look
eyes."
in? Did you look in their eyes? Did you look in
Yeah.
their eyes? Did you look in their eyes when you lied? Did you look in their eyes? Did
Yeah.
you look in their eyes? And he just would not say it.
Yeah.
He
and he
wouldn't
was
say
pissed.
it.
He was
He was
pissed.
so
Murdaugh did not
pissed.
say it.
It was so pissed. But he knew. He's like, dude, come on, I'm not falling for that.
Yeah, it was so obvious. You're trying to
Are
get
you
a line for
serious? Come on, I didn't fall out of the tree.
Courtroom, and it's not a co-defendant, it's someone who's just sitting in the gallery.
Never.
No.
Probably never will again. Once in a lifetime kind of experience, but it had to be done. He literally, and I mean, I don't want to repeat myself, but he was controlling this investigation from word go. When you see him, he is, I mean, TV doesn't do it justice. This guy is so large. He is physically the only person that could have moved him. Moved his father. He was the same size as his father.
Is there, and something else people talked about a lot online is that they don't believe, they didn't believe Melody was innocent, but they believe someone else helped her.
Yeah.
And they didn't, and some were saying, well, maybe Scott helped her. Like, was that ever in your realm of what happened here in your investigation, trying to think, well, maybe there's something else going on here that neither side is talking about?
we kind of were really just spitballing ideas before the trial started about different ways we think the jury's going to look at it, and that was certainly one of them. Melody covering for Scott, or obviously in the online too, everybody was Rusty. But, you know, we know for a fact Rusty was in Tennessee from his cell phone records, plus the other alibi information that he gave Detective Hayes. So, but we thought about those things. We thought the jury may actually consider that and, you know, even potentially say, well, we think she's involved and somebody helped her, so, you know, that may also get them guilty. So it's just something else we got to try to mitigate.
You got to mitigate. All right. I want to go to one of the most dramatic moments I mean, we see a lot here at Court TV, but I've never quite seen this, and this was during your closing when you did this incredible demonstration. Let's take a look at that.
The feats of strength.
This is 320 pounds. I am 185 pounds.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
Okay, so you know what? That should have happened at Zach's trial.
Yeah.
That should have happened.
I think it is. The heaviest down of all.
I mean, everyone was talking about that moment like all day long.
That was great.
You're literally out of breath.
Yeah.
Pulling that.
Well, the prosecutor made fun of me. He's like, I know John Luke's not been working out.
Right. But
the prosecutor was making fun of him. I would love to see Manlet try that.
He moved 4 manlets there.
Did you see the size of the prosecutor?
Oh my God.
I could fit him in my fucking pocket.
The weed ad.
Like, I'm probably bigger than him.
Pretty sure
Actually, no.
I'm pretty sure he starred in Seabiscuit as the jockey.
The prosecutor was making fun of that dude?
It's the first time in his life he got to make fun of somebody, though. So he went home and called his mom and bragged.
He wouldn't even be one of those.
No.
Wow.
Vivid. What did the jury say about that? Did they talk about that at all?
You know, they really didn't talk about it.
No.
They really didn't talk about it.
No. That was just...
I wasted 300 pounds of sand for nothing.
I think it goes back to that they were focused on the timeline, and they gave less weight to the actual weight and the logistics of this, which I think are still critical parts of this case.
All right. Speaking of critical, I'm going to be critical right now.
All right.
I'm going to be critical, and I think you know where I'm going.
I do.
Let's take a look. When the jury walks into the courtroom, generally, everyone stands up. I cover trials, and I stand up in the gallery. I just do whenever the jury comes in. But take a look at Melody, and
this is terrible.
She is not standing up. She's not standing up. Like, I know you had the explanation. You told her not to.
I'll tell.
Well, did you tell all your clients not to do that?
All right. So if you can pan around, so the judge, and I know every jurisdiction is certainly different, but in our jurisdiction, it's always been a little more rural, and everyone's a little more equal. But you look at the judge doesn't stand for the jury.
No, the judge isn't going to stand for the jury. But some judges do. You're right.
Especially in federal court.
Yeah.
The clerk, they don't stand. Court reporter, they don't stand. But really, it's only the district attorney.
But of all those people he mentioned, only one can go to prison for the rest of their life based upon a decision made by those 12 people.
To be fair, Vinny, it's the first TV trial I've ever had, and hopefully the last. But I'll tell you that. Let me tell you a story. My mentor, he was a country lawyer. His name's George Weaver. He was my uncle. You can ask Brian Steele about him. They were friends.
Brian Steele.
He told me my very first trial. He said, "Son,
name dropping.
You don't stand. The prosecution's going to stand, but the jury is here to make the decision for your client. They're equals. The jury needs to know that they're equals. You rise for the judge because the judge is the symbol of the law.
Please.
But they're your peers. And never give up on that and never back away from that. Don't pander to the jury.
Don't pander to the TV anchors either.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've just never seen it. I've never seen it, and it's. Did the jury say anything about it when you spoke to them?
No, they didn't even notice it.
Yeah,
They probably didn't. They didn't
They
notice
probably
it.
didn't
They didn't notice and
notice
discare. But I will also point out, I stood.
You did.
I guess former prosecutor, I was like, no, I'll stand.
Yeah, but I'm in the gallery. I stand when I go. Do we have time for one more? Okay, let's talk about the verdict. The juror talking about the way it went. There was a deadlock jury, then there was a verdict. Take a listen.
There was a couple of us, I don't think me so much, but there was a couple of other people that definitely had more reservations and concerns about convicting. And I don't know, I just felt like it mentally, emotionally, it was a lot for us. But we went on a lunch break, we took a breather, we came back, and we just got right back into it as if we had in the beginning, and just worked through just a couple more little things that, a couple people had issues with, and then we all felt very solid about our decision.
Okay, and it was pretty quick, right? It was late in the morning, then by 3 o'clock in the afternoon they reached their verdict. Yeah. What's going through your mind? What's going on with Melody when you hear the words deadlocked?
When they were deadlocked, well, we knew because I've tried so many cases in front of Judge Cannon. I was like, he's going to make them go the rest of the day. He's going to make them come back on Tuesday. If they come back deadlocked again, he's going to give them an Allen charge, and he's going to make them keep going. If they're still deadlocked, he'll probably declare a mistrial around.
So they're going to have to say they're deadlocked like 3 times.
Oh yeah.
Before he's going to.
And that's all Cherokee County.
And he really didn't give an Allen charge. He just said, guys, you got to go back.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. I mean, he didn't.
So you
give
knew
the
they were
full-
going back. How about Melody? What is she thinking at that moment? Are you having any discussions preparing her for what this means and what it could? Because you got to be hopeful at that moment.
Yeah,
like, hey, someone believes our story.
Yeah, she was. I think. Well, obviously she was very hopeful. She wasn't happy. Obviously they were deadlocked because that means the potential of doing it again. But I think it kind of eased her anxiety a little bit, knowing that they may be deadlocked, and then obviously they come back from lunch and.
So they come back from lunch. What are you thinking? If it was that quick of a turnaround?
Well, because we talked to them, and they told us basically what the one juror was saying this morning. That's exactly what they told us. There were actually 2, and they went back again to the timeline, and they walked the jurors back through their opinion of the timeline, and the one of the jurors actually looked at us and said, and that's when I got it, and I realized what they were talking about. And once I could see it, then I was okay to say guilty.
How do you think she's going to handle prison?
Melody she'll be fine. I mean, she's a very strong woman. She was fine, because I represented her.
Okay, you know what? It should have been a mistrial. It was 18 hours of them deliberating, and they went back to the judge and they said, we're at an impasse. That's 18 hours. Right? And he didn't give him an Allen charge. He just went, go back. Just go back. And so those ones who were willing to convict her convinced the ones who were not guilty.
Yeah.
And the ones who were not guilty went, okay, fine, I see it now. Right? That is a mistrial. That is not a conviction. That pisses me off. They did their job. 18 hours is enough. Right? So there were enough people there who, you only need one.
Yeah.
You only need one who was not willing to convict. They were not convinced beyond a reasonable doubt. So that was it. That should have been enough. But he wasn't happy with that, and he was like, fine, no, we've been here for a month. You've been in there for 18 hours, go back. That pissed me off when it happened. And then the juror interview happened. And we heard all of this. We heard her speaking, etc. And I was just like, fucking hell. Come on now. What does it take? Do you just tire the jury out until they cave? Is that how it works?
Basically.
That's how it works, right? Either you tire the jury out or you go and change the jury instructions or something on them. Right? You tell them they can't go home.
Yeah.
It's a form of fucking torture, isn't it? It's pretty much the same as putting someone in a jail cell and making it so that they can't go home until they confess, right?
Yeah.
Strong enough to pull 300 pounds, but strong.
Not that strong, but she, the whole time that she was in jail for almost 2 years in Cherokee before she was released on bond, and, she toughed through that, and she'll tough through this, waiting appeal.
All right. Anything that I didn't ask you that you think the folks should know to watch this trial for a month before we say thank you?
What do you think, Michael?
It happens all the time.
We're out of time.
John, Luke Weaver, Michael Ray, thank you so much.
Thank you
for coming in. Great to see you guys. Great work in the trial, and that's the way it usually ends for the defense. I mean, I'm just giving you the stats, folks.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, injustice. I mean, look, a lot of the time the person's guilty, right? But this time, I don't know if she is or not. All I know is the state didn't fucking prove it.
No.
From what I've seen anyway. The state didn't prove it.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that there was at least one person who wasn't convinced of it after 18 hours of deliberation. And that should have been a goddamn mistrial.
Yeah.
And that juror, she did not give any good reason that she was convinced beyond a reasonable doubt whatsoever. She didn't give a good reason. Most prosecutors have 90% conviction rates. And look, I get that. I think probably a fair amount of the time they do have the right person.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm not going to sit over here and go, everyone's innocent, they've just got the wrong person all the time and they're always overcharging. Although I do think that they generally go for the highest charge they can. Look, a lot of the time, fine, it's probably quite fair. But then there's situations like this, or Zach Anderson, or Richard Allen. I'll even say in the situation of the ballerina, right? With the ballerina, I don't know whether she's guilty of the charge that she ended up being convicted of. All I know is that jury, one of the jurors had something on the next day.
Yeah.
Right? And they stayed till 9:30 p.m. that night. They were supposedly at an impasse. How you get to an impasse after 3 hours, I don't know. Right? But then the judge in that case went and changed the jury instructions and offered a different option. What was it? Like a lesser included?
I think so.
Yeah. And they had pizza or something, and within half an hour they had a verdict. Manslaughter. Yeah. Right? What's with that?
Yep.
Because they couldn't come back the next day. So we have to get it all done tonight, guys. So it's conviction on a timeline. It's not the first time something like that has happened. The Murdoch case, there's a lot of talk, and this is from the jurors who were there in that room that night. And of course, we got the whole talk about Becky Hill and her influence on that jury. That she didn't even, Becky. She didn't even book hotels for everybody for the Monday. Yeah, so the Friday night, she was so sure that there was going to be a conviction that night that she told all the media to go home. She said the media could go home, that there'd be nothing to report on Monday. Yep.
Awkward.
Look, Mavka, and that's a fine opinion, but here's the thing, right? Like, everyone's allowed their opinion, but when it comes down to it, the jury should have had as much time as they needed to come up with their verdict. They shouldn't have been under any pressure time-wise to come up with their verdict. And the judge made an alteration to the jury instructions. Really clearly, it was so that they could come up with their verdict that night. It was so obvious, so they could come up with it that night. So I don't like that. Akasha says, I don't believe jurors. Most of them anyway don't. Yeah, of course they don't understand what reasonable doubt really means. No way. No way. So, I mean, I respect anyone who believes that Melody's guilty, who's been watching the trial, but if we're watching the trial from out here, we don't have to believe beyond a reasonable doubt. If you're on the jury, you have to believe it beyond a reasonable doubt. And that juror did not explain how she believes it beyond a reasonable doubt. Why? She has not explained that at all. Unless they have consequences for it, they'll keep doing it. Yep. But good luck giving jurors any consequences, because they're doing their civic duty. They need hella steps graphic. I'm working on it. She did it with her boyfriend. Well, you know what, guys? I think next week we're going to just go straight to Rusty's testimony so we can listen to... So the jail calls are in his testimony, right?
I would imagine.
I'll check. I think we'll just skip to that and then we'll backtrack, because I need to hear this. If that's what everybody is saying is the reason why they think she's guilty, then I need to hear that. Yeah. Oh, you meant prosecutors. Yeah, the only consequences that jurors ever have is if they've been involved in juror misconduct. That's rare. But yeah, prosecutors, they tend to have immunity for most things. So it's unusual for them to face any consequences. Yeah, and that's the other thing. They're always like, they want it to be somebody else, right? So, I mean, in this case, with this one, they had somebody else. Scott was right there. But generally, the person that's in front of them is the bad guy. And so, well, who else could it be? You're not giving me anyone else. And that's not reasonable doubt. No. She did it! Killed Big Daddy! Yeah, okay. Cool. All right. Is Cat still going?
It's a premiere, I think.
That's all right. Could still go over to that. I don't see anybody else I like that's live.
Yeah.
She's still going? Okay, sweet. We'll go over to Cat. Later on, I'm going to be premiering 2 videos. One of them for members only. So be a member if you're not, or you'll miss out. And there'll be another one, which is a shorter version, and that's for everybody. So be subscribed and turn on your notifications. So that will be some breaking news about some Koberger photos that have been out there in the general public for quite a long time and are fake. They are fake. They are misleading you. Yes. He's been made to look more evil.
Ooh.
Yes.
Evil?
You're really excited. Very good. Like a narcissist. Okay, cool. Time for the song. Thank you guys for hanging out. And I'll see you probably tomorrow, more than likely. You too, darling?
Not sure tomorrow.
Okay.
Probably not.
Okay, then. Ready?
Her name was Helen. She was an Aussie. She was a fake lawyer from the future. She got on YouTube and made some live streams. The co-host is Donnie and she dances sometimes. The words are always so loud and because she's an 803. To the attention